welcome back to another episode. Tonight we are looking at SBE stock, or Switchback Energy Acquisition Corp stock, and this is soon to be Chargepoint stock because there is a reverse merger going on between these two companies, and this is going to be Chargepoint stock in the future. This is very important and quite exciting as well if you understand what this means. If you don't understand what this means, I'm going to be explaining everything to you in this video and trying to help you to come to a conclusion of whether this is or is not a stock to watch and potentially a stock buy. Just before we do start off the video, 3 things which I need to mention. 1, I am no financial advisor, I'm just somebody on the internet with an opinion, and just take everything that I say in this video as nothing but my opinion when I'm talking about whether you should buy this stock or not. You need to ultimately come up to your own conclusion, but this is just what I think in my mind. Second thing is, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I would appreciate it massively if you guys could just take a second out of your day to press that little red subscribe button and that like button. Also, if you could share this with your friends and family, I would appreciate it a lot. And the last thing that I need to talk about before we jump into this video properly is I have started up a Discord server, which is basically a chat room where a lot of you guys can talk to me about stocks, and you can talk to each other about stocks. So the link will be in the description. If you don't already have Discord, you can download it, and if you don't want to download it, there is also a website version, so everybody should be able to get access to it. Please come and join. Please come and talk to us about stocks. I'm sure you'll find it very, very fun. Okay, so let's just cross off this tab and let's look at the Nasdaq in comparison to the SBE stock. I'm going to be going over why I'm doing this first, and then we're going to be looking specifically at SBE stock. You're going to want to watch this one all the way through to the end. I've got so much to explain to you guys. So on the one day, this stock is actually significantly in the red. I mean, kind of significantly, because when you consider this is only a small stock, to have lost over $1 of its price, or relatively around $1 of its price in the last day is honestly not good. Is the Nasdaq red for the one day? Actually, it is not. The Nasdaq is up for the one day, and the reason why I'm using Nasdaq to compare is because this is a technology index which shows the top 100 technology stocks in the United States. Things like Tesla are in there, things like Apple are in there, so you can imagine it gives us a good picture. Like I always say, could use the S&P 500, but I think that's a bit too varied, whereas technology stocks generally follow the same patterns, and SBE stock is no exception. 5-day, we are slightly in the red for this stock, I can't lie. We saw a bit of a steeper dip from this point here on the 5th of October at 9:30. Honestly though, it's quite a linear path down and not really something to be too concerned about, especially when we go out to looking at the 1 month. Now obviously on the 1 month, the Nasdaq is not performing like that at all. I mean, it is actually going back up from the dip that we saw, but this stock is really on quite the run. Let's get a percentage number on this. So that's over plus 40%, 47.27%. Honestly, not bad at all. And the reason is because of the news of this stock merging with obviously Chargepoint to make the Chargepoint stock. And this is going to be a great sign. Things really come into perspective when we come out and look at the 6 month. We can see how big of a spike this is. Like I've said about a lot of stocks selling off at the minute, we need to ask ourselves 2 questions. Sometimes it's okay to look at this and think, oh, maybe it's not a good time to buy and it's going to go lower. Sometimes we've got to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, is this a perfect time to get a bargain on this stock? I'm going to be explaining why this could potentially be a great time to get a bargain on Chargepoint stock for the future. Now, of course, like I said, I am no financial advisor, but these are just my opinions. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at some news about the company and what the company does first before we go into some other relevant news. Okay, so Chargepoint stock. Here is Chargepoint's website itself, and the company basically charges electric vehicles. Now I'm going to be explaining why that is significant and what this means for the future. So what happens is this company basically operates charging stations like you can see here, similar to the way you plug in a petrol or diesel car. You would just plug in a Chargepoint plug into an electric car. They can charge all sorts of cars, lorries, or trucks as you might call them in the United States, buses, all kinds of electric vehicles. And what this means is they are really not missing out on a market sector, and this allows them to capture more sales than what they would be able to capture if they were focusing on one specific type of vehicle. Like how the Tesla chargers might only be able to charge the Tesla cars. These chargers can be charged for any type of vehicle, and this is a great thing because you do not miss out on some market share, and this is why the company could grow to exponential heights in the future. Other things are the company intends to expand its business, I believe it is over 50 times in the next 5 years. which is quite the revolution to see for such a company, and this really could pay off for the company if they manage to do this soon. Putting in the infrastructure right now could really help in this market in the future. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment, but you can imagine how this one's going to work with electric vehicle sales going up significantly into the future as petrol and diesel get phased out of our society. Another thing, they actually already have 82.8 million chargers delivered and counting, so of course this number is obviously going up every single day. And what this shows is that the company is already established, the company already has products out, and if you look in your town or city or country even, I'm sure there will be Chargepoint chargers there. And in my hometown there is Chargepoint chargers, in America there are, in loads of cities in England there are. It's just really popular and amazing how many there actually are. And this is really going to set them apart from other brands, such as brands which mainly keep their business in the United States, because obviously by going to the entire world you can sell to the whole world, much larger market share to potentially grab there. Okay, so a little bit of news on the merge. So of course you can see this article on electdrive.com if you wanted to know what my source was. Okay, so we're just going to read out this top bit where it says Chargepoint to enter the US stock market. Now of course that's what we're talking about right now, but just to skim over this second paragraph, Chargepoint has said that the move puts the value of the company at 2.4 billion and brings net proceeds to 493 million. The announcement follows Chargepoint's recent round of financing in which the company secured 127 million in additional funding. So the company's just got 127 million in additional funding, which shows people are ambitious towards the company, they can see the company growing, and investment like this really does show great signs for the company. Now, of course, the company is not necessarily making a profit yet. If we go to the revenue, I believe the company has not yet made a profit, but when we look at a company which is growing like this, it is not necessarily always a bad thing, because of course, when they're spending so much money on building up new stations, advertising, employing and whatnot, manufacturing, you can imagine that how much money they are making does not necessarily matter because they're going to get that money back in the future. Think of it like that. So yes, when we look at the, balance sheets and whatnot, perhaps they aren't making a profit right now, but this is not necessarily a bad thing for the company when it's at such a young stage. Okay, so another article which I have brought up is the one that I usually bring up when we talk about electric cars and whatnot. And this is the graph. Now you can pick any country in the world for this if you manage to find it. We are looking at the United Kingdom because that's where I'm from, of course. If you want to look at the United States, you can go and do that. You can look at Norway here, which is down there. We're going to be looking at that one next and how this will reflect the future. In the United Kingdom, however, we can really see on this graph the majority of sales for vehicles are dominated by petrol and then diesel. Now of course in the United Kingdom and a lot of European countries they intend to phase out petrol and diesel by 2030. Now what does this mean? It means that all cars on this graph will be electric, the full circle will be green, similar to what we've seen with petrol, but basically all car sales will have to be electric. Now all these electric cars will need charging, similar to how when you go to a petrol station you will need petrol for your petrol car or diesel for your diesel car. You will need electricity for your electric car. Now the thing about petrol cars and diesel cars, you mainly have to go to dedicated stations to fill these vehicles up, because quite frankly you can't have a petrol pump in the middle of, I don't know, a car park somewhere because it could just blow up. It's quite unsafe if it's in the sun, depending on how warm your country is. Now we can imagine with electric vehicles this is not necessarily a problem. In a lot of malls, if you will, or shopping centres around the country and around the world, we actually see electric cars plugged up and charging. In a lot of workplaces, workstations, we see the same thing. And this is really a revolutionary technology because people don't necessarily have to go to a dedicated petrol station to plug their vehicle in. And with all the car sales on this graph about to be green, that means that all of these cars will need charging. And just to summarize, that will mean that all of these cars are potential customers for Chargepoint. So it's not like Chargepoint's getting into a market that's dying out. Chargepoint are on the forefront of a new revolution which is coming out, and all cars will be electric. And this means that they will all need charging. Now, I know I've said that a few times, but can we just, understand how important that is? Of course, they are building more stations all around the world, and this is really going to allow them to capture that market share while this market is still young. Just look at how Tesla managed to capture the whole electric market in the first place and really change people's perception towards electric cars. If Chargepoint can do a similar thing, with the charging of electric cars themselves and electric vehicles in general, this could allow them to capture some huge market share in the electric vehicle charging world. And of course, then they'll be able to expand their business model into the future. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this one. I just thought I'd give you a quick update on Chargepoint stock. And I think that the real question right now is that you got to ask yourself, is Chargepoint too low? Is it a good discount stock? Is it at a cheap price? If we can see this stock growing into the future, is now a perfect time to buy it? What do you guys think? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this short one. If you did, please leave a like. Please do subscribe. Please do check out the Discord server. Link will be in the description. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye. See you in the next one.